Hi guys, you are listening to the 20 something and trying podcast, and I am your host, Laura Jaye. Thank you so much for listening. So, hi guys, today we are back in the little sofa spot. However, we are looking rough. If you are watching on YouTube, I do apologise. This probably should have been an audio only video because I look rough as hell. I have eye patches on, my hair has a hair mask in, I feel and sound awful. But you know what that means? It's time for a sleepover club. That means it's time for a little girly pick me up. Let's have a girl talk, okay? So before we get into this episode, I just wanted to say that I'm very sorry that there was no episode last Sunday. I just wasn't happy with what I filmed. I did have a podcast ready to go, but it was so long. I thought, girl, I'm not Trish Paytas. Like, no one wants to listen to my podcast for like over an hour. And I just wasn't that happy with it. I mean, I know it's really early days and this is when consistency really matters, but I just thought I would rather post something, I'd rather miss a post, like a scheduled post, than post something that I'm just not happy with. So apologies for that, and potentially there won't be another 2 episodes in a row, which I know is so bad for literally the start of a podcast. But I'm going on holiday. I'm going away for 3 weeks to Japan, guys. I'm so excited. This holiday is so needed. I cannot wait to just get out of England. I absolutely cannot wait, and I'm buzzing for it. But that does mean that there's potentially going to be no episode for the next 2 Sundays. So I'm very sorry. But good news, we have today's episode, so let's get straight into the episode. So today we're talking all things boys, all things relationships, all things cheating scandals, does long distance work, like anything like that. I asked you guys questions over on Instagram, or I asked you to ask me questions where you just need big sister advice. You just need to know what is going on, and again, you guys pulled through as you always do. If you do want to get involved in any future episodes, I will leave the Instagram handles on the screen or in the description below. So today we are actually reading from a little diary that my friend got me for my birthday that says 20 something and trying on the front. So we have a little upgrade from me just reading off the iPad, and I've written all of your questions down. So we have 9 questions. However, we are on a bit of a time crunch today, so we'll see if we get through all 9. If not, this video is going to be split into 2 anyway, because there was so many questions. So many questions. I feel like this is a topic that we are just always all lost on, and any advice we can get, we take. So let's get straight into it. So question 1 is how to know if you are in the right relationship. And I honestly think trust your gut. Like, I know it's so much easier said than done, but I think as corny as it is, you do just know. And I think for me, I was in a position where I really didn't want a relationship. Like, I knew I really didn't want one. It was such bad timing when I met my boyfriend. I was due to go traveling in 3 months' time across the other side of the world for like a year. And I was like, this isn't going to work. Like, we need to go straight into long distance. This is crazy. This isn't going to work. But I knew in my gut that it was too good to let go. And I think that's a huge thing. If this is too good of a person, too good of an opportunity to let go, and if this went past you, you would be devastated. I think that is a huge indicator that you're in the right relationship. I also think the honeymoon stage has got to feel like a honeymoon. I'm going to go on a whim here and say, if in the honeymoon stage you are fighting all the time, or you're crying all the time, or it's already feeling like it's a little bit draining or a little bit toxic, or the highs are really high or the lows are really low, anything like that, it's probably not going to get any better. Like, if that is what it's like at the start, it's probably not going to get much better than that. But obviously there are anomalies, but normally you are the rule, not the anomaly, and it tends to not get any better than that. Reassurance is a huge thing for me. Like, I'd previously been in a lot of kind of like situationshipy type things, or like, I don't want a boyfriend and blah blah blah, and it was all this like blurred lines and things like that. And when I met my boyfriend this time, like, it just wasn't that. It just, from the first month of knowing each other, we were like, I want to be with you forever. vice versa, and there was just no blurred lines, there was no mixed messages, mixed feelings, there was no, oh yeah, I'm telling you one thing but doing something else, or there was just none of that, no mixed signals at all. It was just reassurance and solid actions from the get-go, and I think that is a huge thing. Ultimately, as cringe as it is, I just think when you know, you know, and if you are unsure, it's probably not the right relationship. So the second question is, does long distance work? And I think this is asked to me because if you don't know, I was in a long distance relationship for about 9-10 months, and I'd only been with my boyfriend for 3 months before I went traveling, so it was very quick. I went to the other side of the world. There was a huge time difference. We saw each other twice in that 10 months, both for very short periods. I flew home for 2 weeks and he flew out for 2 weeks. Other than that, the entire time, our whole relationship was based on texting and FaceTime. So I think I'm gonna say something quite controversial here, because obviously I made it work, but I think 90% of the time it doesn't tend to work. However, there are ways to make it work, but I think it tends not to. It falls on the side of it doesn't work more than it does. I don't think I met anybody traveling that ended up staying with their long distance partner. I think I really was the anomaly. So I think it can work. I think you both have to want to make it work. You both need to be so determined, and no matter how hard it gets or how far away we get or how long the time distance gets, you both need to want this really badly. I think there needs to kind of be a rough end date in sight. I don't think this is for everyone. I know loads of people that don't have an end date in sight that do make it work, but I think overall you need to be counting down to something. You need something to look forward to, and a time where long distance is going to come to a close. Having plans to see each other is really important, and making plans for when either they come down for a couple of weeks, you go up for a couple of weeks, go across, whatever the distance is, or even if it is for like a year's time, when I come back home, we're going to do this and this and this and this. Like, making loads of plans really definitely helps. I also think an incredible, amazing thing for me is that my boyfriend wasn't jealous of anything that I was doing. He is such a homebody. He doesn't care too much about traveling, and he wasn't jealous. Like, he was always so excited to hear everything I had to say, and I would tell him I went on safari, or I went in an aeroplane or a helicopter, or I went skydiving, or I didn't skydive, I went snorkeling, or what is the thing called, scuba diving, that was it, not skydiving. Whatever it was, he was so excited to hear, which made me feel incredible, and like, I couldn't wait to tell him what I was up to every day. But there was just no ounce of jealousy, and I think that was huge, because roles reversed, I'll be so honest, traveling is my dream and I love traveling, and I would have been so jealous. And that could apply to if you both applied to the same uni in a different country or ages away, and one of you got in and one of you didn't. If one of you ends up jealous of the other person, I think there can be loads of friction. Or I had like loads of girls I met in Australia would like call their boyfriends and be like, oh my god, like they were so excited to tell them what they done, and the boyfriends were just crap. Like, the boyfriends were literally like, yeah, whatever, okay, like, oh, you seem so happy without me, and like things like that. And I get it, like, I get being insecure. Like, I can't say that I necessarily wouldn't feel the same way. I don't know, like, I've not been put in the same boat, because my boyfriend was at home living his everyday life, like having a job and stuff. So I can't say that I wouldn't feel like that, but I think just being secure in your relationship and not being jealous was a huge, huge part for me that made it work. And that is so much thanks to my boyfriend. Like, that is so, so much thanks to my boyfriend. Like, the fact that he was always happy for me and wanted to listen to everything, I was so excited. Like, it just made such a big difference in why and how it all kind of worked out for us. And the last thing I think is trust. I'm gonna say, if you don't trust each other, don't even attempt long distance. That is not gonna work. Like, you need to trust each other. Question 3 is how to cope with a breakup. And guys, breakups suck. Like, they actually freaking suck. Whether it be a friendship breakup or a relationship breakup, there is nothing more just heart-wrenching than your first breakup. So my advice comes from the trenches, okay? My advice isn't for somebody that might be 6 months on from a breakup. This is for you and your partner have just broken up really recently and you are on death's door. You are like in the trenches. I'm gonna say that my advice is, and it sounds crazy, my advice is give it 30 days. Give it 30 days of no contact. Try not to think about them. Try not to do anything. Process your emotions. Cry if you need to. Do all that jazz. Don't make yourself even sadder with sad songs, sad movies, things like that. Like, try to like process it, you know, like go to the gym, get your anger out, see your friends, like do all the things that you should do in a breakup. But I think having this kind of like 30-day countdown where you can kind of go, right, in 30 days, if I don't feel better, I'll reach out to them. I'll text them. I can talk to this person. I miss them so bad. I can talk to them in 30 days' time. When you get to that 30 days, you'll either be in one or 2 points. You'll either be like, holy crap, that month was hard, but I am better than I've ever been in my entire life. Like, I do not want to or need to reach out. Like, I'm doing so fine. Whatever, shut that book. Or you get to 30 days, you might need to give yourself another 30, or you reach out and you get that closure, or you might reopen that door again and it be actually, oh, we shouldn't have broken up, you know? Because I think in that first 2 weeks, all you want to do is speak to that person. All you want to do is beg for them back. You're crying, you're a state. Like, do not reach out to them in that first couple of weeks when you are an emotional mess. If you still want to, in a couple of weeks, a month down the line, maybe it's the right thing to do to fight for it. But do not do it in that first couple of weeks, because I promise you, you will regret it. Your emotions are high. You probably feel crazy. You're probably going to be crying in their car. Girl, I know I was. Being like, oh my god, what's going on? Like, you will regret it so much. If I could do anything, it would be go back and leave with grace. If I could do anything, if I could shake myself and just be like, go, you should have just left with as much grace as possible. Like, just be like, okay, whatever, if that's how you feel, cool, get up, go. Like, if they don't want you, that's their loss. You know it's their loss. Like, you know what you bring to the table. It is their fucking loss. And yeah, if there is anything that I could do, I would like just shake myself and tell myself to just leave with grace. Do not beg for somebody that doesn't want you. That is embarrassing. Do not beg for somebody that does not want you. And yeah, I would just give myself a shake. But I think having that kind of like 30-day countdown just makes it easier when you are in the trenches, when you're in that first couple of weeks where you just feel like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. I think having a countdown to something just makes it like, okay, if I can just get through another 28 days, if I can just get through another 23 days, like, it's just something to kind of look for and have as a guide. Okay, number 4, kind of similar to the first one, is how to know if you're in a toxic relationship. Guys, this came up so much, it's actually a little bit worrying, because we are not romanticizing toxic anymore. I feel like 2016 to 2020, that like or 2021 really, like euphoria days, that proper like toxic relationship was so romanticized. And looking back now, it's insane. Like, why did, like, even like the Chuck and Blair Gossip Girl thing, like, why was we presented with so many toxic relationships as young, impressionable, influential people? Like, that's insane to me. But you know, I think how to tell if you're in one, sometimes I think it is difficult, because sometimes I think it's quite easy to not realise it's happening. So I would say take account of every red flag from day dot and write them down, because there might only be 2 or 3 that you ignore, but then once you come back to it and you see it written down, you can kind of go, oh yeah, that still happens. That is a red flag. That is bad. I think seeing it on paper does something to your brain where it just makes it more recognizable, I guess. And then how to tell, I would say if your highs feel really high, like the good times feel so good, but there is devastating bad times, that you are the lowest you could possibly be, that's not normal. Like, if you are scared to say that you're upset about something because you feel like you're going to argue, not normal. You should be able to approach your partner and be like, hey, this has really upset me, and you guys have a normal conversation that doesn't end in tears 95% of the time. Sometimes, you know, things happen, it might be a really horrible conversation or whatever, but like, never should it be that the majority of the time you guys are arguing. Never a partner that screams at you, never a partner that swears at you. That is my absolute standard. I would do everything I can to not do that to a loved one, and I hope that they would do the same for me. Like, I just think if you've got somebody that is shouting, screaming, swearing, making you cry, all of them are red flags, and all of them are toxic behaviours that you should not settle for. If you are unable to tell your friends or family what you're going through, that is normally you are being manipulated, or you know it's wrong and you don't want to admit it to yourself. If you feel like you can't tell anyone what goes on, I can tell all of my friends if me and my boyfriend have a little bicker, because I know and they know that it's healthy, and that the little bicker we have is about mugs being left on the side and not washed up, and it's like, in the grand scheme of things, I'd rather argue about that than like a cheating scandal, you know what I mean? Like, that every couple argues, and you should be able to tell your friends and family comfortably without like there's just not even the perception in my mind that other people might even think anything we argue about is toxic or anything like that, because it's not. So I think if you are worried about protecting somebody, it's probably because it's toxic. But I think it is really hard to tell, and I think looking back on a lot of TV shows like Pretty Little Liars and Gossip Girl, and like a lot of TV shows kind of aimed at young girls, always have like really, really toxic, terrible relationships represented. And I think when that is so represented in the media, it is really hard to know if what you're in is normal. And if you feel worse, if you more often feel worse than you do good, just get out of the relationship, baby. Just get out. It's not worth staying. Question 5 is, should the boy pay on the first day? And yes. My answer is yes. And I just think women go through enough, you know. We have to do all of the like cleaning, we have to do the childbirth, we have to like lose our names in the marriage, like lose our whole identity and just marry off to a different name. Like, we have to go through so much. We have periods, we have to pay for our nails, we have to pay for our hair, we have to pay for lash extensions, we have to pay for like laser hair removal, we have to shave all the time. There's so much we have to do. A boy can pay for a damn day, and like, it doesn't have to be an expensive one. We don't have to go anywhere fancy if you don't have the funds for that. Like, just, even if they're not like paying, they can control the day. Like, they can put the effort in to make a day, make a plan, make time, location. If they don't really have much funds, they can make a little picnic. Like, there's things that they can do where it's not necessarily like a monetary value that is the big thing to me. Like, should they pay? Like, I personally think so, but it's just, should they be putting in effort and showing you that they want you? Yes. That's my short and sweet opinion on that one. What do you think about dating a friend's ex? To me, this is a straight up no go. This is girl code. Like, we do not date our friends' exes. I think the only time maybe this could kind of be like somewhat okay, I guess, is if you've like spoken about it and it's exes from when you were literally children, when you're like 11, 12, and maybe you have like, you just didn't even have feelings to begin with, let alone still have them now. Even then, I wouldn't even put myself in the position of getting feelings for someone in order to then ask my friend. Like, I just always ask the friend first. Like, your girls are the most important things. Do not mess up that friendship through a freaking boy. Like, it's not worth it. Or any ex, like, and it doesn't have to be a boy, like any ex, like, it is just not freaking worth it. You know, the idea of fancying a friend's ex to me is kind of insane, because the automatic that like, if I know my friend is with somebody, that's my brother. That is automatically my brother, and I do not want to commit a crime. You know what I mean? So that is automatically my brother, and I will refuse to see them any other way than that. So to me, that is just not even something that I could consider. And if any of my friends done that to me, they wouldn't be my friends anymore. Like, I just don't. There's billions of people in the world, billions upon billions of people in the world, and you want to go for someone that I've been with, does not make sense to me. And I just think it's weird. I think, you know, if you're in high school and the relationships don't really matter, like, and you really, really fall for someone, like, maybe you could talk to your friend about it. But ultimately, 90% of the time, like, I just think the girl code is not worth messing with. It's not worth messing with. Like, your girls, your everything. How to not lose yourself in a relationship. And I think this is really hard, especially if it's your first relationship, or even like your first real, like, quote unquote real relationship. I think it is really hard because you become so intertwined with somebody, and that's your best friend. Like, of course you want to spend all of your time with them, and just, you know, like, just be with them all the time, and it's so easy to lose yourself in that. For me personally, I don't feel like I ever necessarily have, and I am quite thankful, because I think I learned from people older than me's mistakes that were around me, and I kind of saw how other people would kind of lose their friendships and just, yeah, like, lose themselves to a relationship, and I thought, I don't want to do that. So I would say stick to your hobbies. That is an absolute huge thing. Stick to your hobbies, keep your friends, and keep your routine. Like, if you go to football or netball or whatever every Wednesday at 9, but your new boyfriend or girlfriend is asking to see you at 9 p.m. on a Wednesday, you say no. That is your routine, that is your life. Like, I think that is a huge thing of not losing yourself, like, doing the hobbies, doing the things you love, and feeling confident in the things you love, making sure you spend loads of time with your friends still, alone time with your friends as well. Like, it is always nice to integrate the friendship group, and, like, you know, everybody dreams of, like, a Friends, a How I Met Your Mother, like, kind of friendship group where everyone's best mates, and that is really nice. But having time with just you and your friend is important, because that's why they're friends with you, because they're friends with you and they want to be with you. So, like, I think holding on to those friendships and making sure that you really nurture them and you spend loads of time with them, and yeah, hobbies and routine are the main kind of ways. I think it is still easy to do it even whilst you still have your life going on. You don't feel as passionate about things because you feel so passionate about your relationships, and I think it is really easy to still lose yourself even with a routine. But I think you will lose yourself if you don't keep your routine. I think that's the least you can do. Okay, the last question is, can getting back with an ex work? And I'm gonna say, again, 90% of the time, no. I think you broke up for a reason. It's that saying where it's like reading the same book or watching the same movie a second time and expecting a different ending. I think 90% of the time, like, you broke up for a reason. It didn't work for a reason, and why would you go back and put yourself through it again? However, I think there is an exception, and I think this is the only exception, is if you broke up for a reason that wasn't you fell out of love or someone cheated. Like, it was, you still loved each other, but maybe there was distance there that isn't there anymore, or something like that, where, like, you broke up for a reason that was kind of out of your guys' hands, and you still loved each other so much, and it was still respectful and nice, and or you were young and enough time has passed where you have both had separate relationships, you have both gone to therapy, you've both grown, you're both different people, and it's almost like meeting somebody new anyway, with a couple of little familiarities. Like, you are so different and so evolved that it's not like being with your ex. I would say they're probably the only 2 times there is an exception. However, 90% of the time, what are you doing? Like, it is not worth it. That person, there's so many other people in the world, there's billions of other people in the world, and getting back with somebody that you broke up with, especially if they cheated or it was toxic, it's probably going to be the same thing again. You're literally putting yourself through the same thing again. And personally, I wouldn't do it. I have done it, and it was the most pointless thing in my life. It was exactly the same, if not actually 10 million times worse than the first go round. And I just don't see an upside to it unless, like I said, years and years have gone by, and or there was a relationship where, like, long distance or something like that was the reason you broke up, and now the distance isn't there anymore and you're back home or something like that. I think that is the only time that it can work. But you know, there is anomalies to every single rule, like every single thing that I've said. There are people that fight the current, is that the right thing? Like, fight the stereotype and they make it work. And that isn't to say that you aren't one of those people. I just think, you know, there's rules and anomalies, that you are the rule. Like, you tend to be the 90% that don't make it work, unless you are both exactly on the same page and you both really, really want it to work, and you are both willing to put in the same amount of effort and the same amount of love and nourishment into that relationship, then it can 100% work. Okay guys, so that is the end of the episode. I have to come off of my lunch break now, which is very, very depressing, but thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this fun little, like, sleepover club, this little girl chat. I had so much fun with you guys, so thank you so much for listening, and I can't wait to talk to you again soon. Bye.